Hey, it's Jason ODB, the Lincoln Addict, hitting you with another review. This one's going to be a little bit different, right? This is number 5. If you've been watching these videos, you know that I went through 4 previously. If you haven't, you can go back on the YouTube channel here and you can check them out. This is on another super popular site that has gained a lot of popularity in the last couple of years. It is called bringatrailer.com. Now, I have not used this site in terms of being a seller. I have seen others use it, and they apparently really like it. I do believe this was a car that I first noticed in the Lincoln forum that someone may have posted about being on here. It may have even been the seller. The thing that stands out to me on this website, you're going to see a few things. Don't get it confused. Although it's bring a trailer, it doesn't mean that, these cars don't run and things like that. It's just a marketing name for this website and nothing further. Obviously some cars are probably running, some aren't. Naturally, you're not going to, probably buy a classic car, especially across the country, and, go drive it home, so to speak. But it's a cool name, cool little logo that they have. And what you can do is you can go out here and you can search for make and models, and it will show you also a nice grid. And let me just show you here. So what I did is I searched. It shows the live auctions for Continental. So you got a 46, a 70, and a 79. And it shows you, this is pretty cool, the results. So I'm kind of a number person. You can hover over these and see where these numbers landed. So like quickly I can say, wow, a 64 Lincoln Continental convertible, October 2020, 69, basically almost 70,000. You can click on it and it will bring that right up. So pretty cool website. I love what they're doing. This is obviously going to kind of show 169 results, and I knew that I was looking for this one. Okay. You could see this was on 4/9/2022 and it sold for 36,000 and change. This 62 2 years prior sold 10 days later for 11,000 less. Okay. So let's look at why this sedan sold for the money that it did. So 36,259 on 4/9. So we're about 31 days out from that auction. There's 50 comments. Okay. You can look in here. You got the date and timestamp, which I think is great. It also shows you the bid history. So I always like to look in here and kind of see, like, did it start jumping up at the end? How much did it jump up increment wise and whatnot? Okay. The great thing about this site, and I think it is how it forces the seller or the lister to put the information in. A lot of these Lincolns I've seen on here have fantastic descriptions, okay? So this kind of goes on to give a little bit of information. The platinum white over blue patterned cloth upholstery, 430, of course, 15-inch wheels, which is a factory for that year. The car is said to have been acquired by the seller from the first owner in March 2018, so it gives a little bit of the history. It talks about AM, FM radio here. Refurbishment work consisted of rebuilding the brakes, suspension, steering, so on and so forth, and also converting to 134A, which is the newer air-conditioned coolant or Freon, if you will. It also states this, a Volvo electric steering pump, so we'll talk about that. This Continental is offered with the Rhode Island registration in the seller's name. It also has a Rhode Island plate that you'll see. The car left the factory in the platinum white, so it talks about some of that. In terms of the exterior, paint imperfections are present. So again, they're very clear. They're not saying that this is a full restoration. And I should have mentioned this on one of the other reviews when the person said it rides like a Cadillac. I'm like, it's a Lincoln. Why would you ever compare a Lincoln to a Cadillac? Wheels, 15-inch wheels, chrome finished hubcaps, which is stainless. They're often sometimes polished. Those look normal, non-polished. 4-wheel assisted drum brakes were reportedly rebuilt under the current ownership. So, he might be using kind of a broker here. It looks like they're kind of speaking in third person. The suspension and steering are said to have been refreshed with replacement shocks. Again, they're being very specific. They're not saying everything has been redone. They're actually kind of going through and saying, hey, our understanding is this was done, and so on and so forth. An electric steering pump sourced from Volvo is installed, so we'll look at that in a minute. The cabin features bench seating trimmed in blue pattern cloth, joined by matching lower dashboard, so on and so forth. Okay. The seats, this pattern, I'm not 100% sure if this is factory. I want to say there were options like this. If this is factory, it is very rare. I haven't seen it. I've seen similar things. I do believe it's supposed to have 5 here, but I can't tell you for 100% sure if this is factory. Okay, I'm assuming 50-50 on it. Either way, it looks good for the period. Someone's going to end up with a nice car, or they did end up with a nice car, and they could redo it if they want to. The steering wheel talks about all that stuff is pretty much standard. The 5-digit odometer indicates 5K miles, approximately 500 of which have been added by the seller. Total mileage is unknown. So, this could be that the odometer just isn't working. It could have went over 100,000, so now it's showing 5,000. I really don't believe that it has only 5,000 miles, and they're being truthful here. The mileage is unknown. Engine bay, you can see a few subtle things, which we'll see here in a minute as we get a more detailed look. Kind of a cleaned up, refurbished engine bay. This is what I like to see. Nothing that makes everything look brand new, but you can see, some of the hoses are original and whatnot, and it looks real good. Key to the success of a good sale is always have photos underneath the car, all right? If you don't, you're going to have people that have money that may want to buy your car that are going to ask you, and then you're going to have to send them photos. It's just better up front to post photos from underneath the car. This is standard, and I've said this kind of in other videos. This is what I like to see, something that is true. They didn't put it up on a lift and just spray undercoating. It looks good. I can see here the floor pans. This is all factory stuff. Don't be deterred by the fact that, it doesn't look show quality, okay? That's fine. More than likely, you'd buy this car and just drive it and really enjoy it. If you went the extra mile, you could really kind of, refurbish the all underside of the car, but that's pretty rare. Not everyone does that. You could see the exhaust looks new, but you got probably the original exhaust up here, so kind of the mufflers and whatnot from this part back look new, I should say. This looks all original. It kind of talks about some of the other features. It shows, this is important, you have the VIN plate, and one thing I love about this website is it will break down. I don't believe that it forces the seller to do this, but it's going to break this down here in just a minute. So let's jump in there. These cars were made in Wixom, Michigan. John Cashman and others will tell you that. Of course, 430 V8. Decoding the door tag reveals the following. So I've seen this on all of these that I've looked at. So I do believe that this is a functionality of the website. It kind of pulls this in, I believe. 53A, so that's the 4-door sedan. I've kind of broken this down before on Lincoln Addict podcast. You have the color, the trim, the date. So A being January, and then the 31 being the 31st date, or January 31st. 16, the DSO. I talked about this the other day. That's Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So that's the delivery district. And then here, pretty much axle A, locking differential, the 289-1, and then the transmission, which they were, that's standard, the dual range automatic for this year. Hydromatic, I think, is what I refer to it as. This might be the technical term. The car does not have a title, so do not be deterred by this. I'm going to do another one of these videos here soon on a car from the South. I bought one from Alabama years ago. They did not title their cars until like the late 70s or something like that. So do not be deterred if you're looking to get into the classic car market. If a car does not have a title, depending on the state, you can get one of those old NADA books. I'm sure you can find it all online now, and it will break down what year the particular state offered a title. Okay, so here's the meat and potatoes of this video, right? So we're about, I don't know, 10 minutes in, and I got to get going here with this content. So what I'm seeing here, first video, or excuse me, the first photo, it looks like here it has the optical eye maybe. You got a newer style license plate on it, which is fine. You can kind of see the gap here. I'm only pointing this out because these cars were not perfect from the factory. Now, I would assume this gap was a little bit nicer or better. I don't see dents here on this bumper end, so this probably just needs a little bit of adjustment, right? But that's just where my eyes go. This car, the chrome looks fantastic on it. What I'm doing now, another thing I like about this site is all the photos are in one place. I'm just literally, I have this expanded, so I've clicked on the first photo, and I'm going to use the arrow key to go through these. So you got another front three-quarter shot. Three-quarter shot. I like seeing in here in this splash guard in the wheel well, you can kind of see this looks all original. Okay, this is exactly what I would want to see. And a 64 that I bought was missing the splash guard. I think it was on the passenger side. These are kind of getting a little bit hard to find, but I do like to look in here to see, does it look clean? And then I like to look here at this rear door to kind of see, do I see anything that's fishy here in terms of Bondo or whatnot. I also like to look at the peak moldings to see, are there dents and dings. It can get costly. You're usually charged by the foot to take out and polish and or remove dents and dings from stainless trim. You have a couple different photos from different times of the day. Beautiful looking paint on this car. I would assume it is original. You've got these little door guards, which these were technically like a dealer option. You don't always see these, but I mean, when I look at this, I mean, this dog leg area looks great. The tires look great on the car. The body looks straight. I mean, this is presented really, really well. And that's why this sedan brought in over $36,000. That's more than a couple of the convertibles I recently talked about. Now, one of the convertibles was a custom car, but the other 67 sold for $18,000. So, of course, it's going to need a lot. But if you look at this, I mean, sedan prices typically for a factory style car like this aren't going for that much. I look back here, again, you see super clean, nice bumpers. Bumper ends look good. Front fender, all this looks good. You got this stainless trim here. Rear bumper looks fantastic. You always want to look in this region, this whole entire row right here, and see if you see any dents or dings. Typically, I've seen cars where they'll have a big gash right here, and that's from the car jumping into reverse. We've talked about this public service agreement. Do not leave these cars in idle, okay, without anyone in the car and with their foot on the brake. These cars can and will jump into reverse. Nathan Wilson has talked about it. I've talked about it. Chris Dunn, Blair, John Cashman, all of these guys have reinforced this over the course of time. These steering columns deteriorate kind of on the inside, and basically it causes for them to be loose, and they can and they will jump into reverse. We've seen cars totaled. We've seen, some bad stuff happen. Now, in this photo, I'm seeing these little dents and dings, and again, these are land yachts. It's not unheard of to see some bumper ends like this with some dents and dings, okay? You're going to see it. The main thing I'm looking at here is if there's dents and dings in these bumper ends, I'm looking to see are they rotted out, okay? I've seen some bad bumper ends, and these look really good. These are the type of bumper ends that you could send to Advanced Plating or whoever your chrome plater is, and they'll make these things look better than when they were brand new, okay? Taking the dents and dings and or rechroming them. I'm looking here. It's kind of hard to see based upon the way this photo was taken. It looks like the badge is here. These are getting a little bit harder to find as well because they're typically broken if they're taken off, but I always look to make sure that those are there. A few more photos. You've got typical, really nice looking Lincoln hood emblem. These are typically not in perfect condition, but I tell you what, I like them just like this. It kind of shows the age and a little bit of patina to them. The headlights, you can kind of see, these headlamps have been replaced, which is fine. I would want the same thing. You can see that this looks like it's kind of been polished, which is great. These typically do need some love in terms of polishing, but everything looks good here. You've heard me say in other videos where I say to look up in this area. You see where the discoloration is? This isn't anything to be afraid of in terms of what you're seeing here, but it shows that the presentation of this car, you can see all this stuff, and you can see that, exactly what you're kind of getting or what you're potentially bidding on. I talked about the 64 grill the other day, trying to kind of describe it. You can kind of see where it comes to a point. So this is a great photo. This is pot metal. So you're going to see a lot of this kind of stuff is normal here, right? So this could be sent into advanced plating. I think they do pot metal. There's some pot metal experts out there as well, like, polishing and rechroming this stuff and that type of thing. There's a certain way that they do it. But again, this is normal stuff here that you're going to see. Again, I'm looking here. Most people are going to probably look down here to the grill, but I'm looking at all of these surfaces where there's metal, and this all looks really, really good. You could spend time and come in here and detail it. I mean, hey, if you buy this car or if you were the winner of it, obviously, you could make this car look as good as you want. And here it's kind of hard to tell, is this anything other than, is there anything fishy going on here? But I would say it's probably fine. If I was looking at this car, I'd kind of take a screwdriver or a finger and just kind of make sure that this isn't anything too crazy, which I really don't think that it is. Okay, another good shot. Yes, the optical eye here, that's the feature that takes from the high beams down to the low beams. I call it an optical eye. There's another technical term for it. I think the same manufacturer for GM made it for Ford as well, the technology that is. This is giving you a good view of the door handles. Okay, so a lot of times, you'll have guys and ladies that take these cars apart and they'll send these out and get them rechromed. These look fine. You could spend a little bit of time polishing this stuff if you want, but it's standard stuff. I always tend to forget I see this molding and I don't always see it. Someone could chime in. I do want to say for 64 that this was on all of the sedans. So that always kind of throws me for a loop for some reason. You could see in here the all of the weather stripping. This is what I'm looking at here. Listen, you could probably buy this car and drive it and never have an issue. But if you bought this car and you really wanted to take it to the next level, you'd use products like steel rubber. And you would maybe come in here. This stuff is not super cheap. But if you were looking to take this car from like a mid $35,000 car and really take it up, to a higher level, that's one thing you would probably look at is replacing some of the weather stripping. Super clean here. You can see this person has probably invested in someone to really detail the car, or they've kept it nice. They've also probably invested in a photographer, or they're great at taking photos. The presentation on this car is what's selling it right here. Again, you can kind of see some of the little dents and dings and whatnot, but nothing crazy. And you got a good view here of the rear bumper. I'm not seeing any gouges from it potentially jumping into reverse. Standard stuff. A lot of times you can look here to see, are you seeing paint? If it was a quick respray, you're going to see paint a lot of times. This kind of stuff here is normal, for it to look just like this. I've had a couple of these cars, and that's the way they do up here. Same thing here. You can kind of look. Whether this was a respray or not, it looks really, really good. I would drive this car every day. Again, close-up photos, you can see that more than likely these peak moldings have been polished. Again, someone's taken some time. And this car may not have looked this nice, and they got it to this condition. And, this car could have sold for 15 or 20 grand or ish. And then, boom, next thing you know, with a great presentation, you're in your mid-30s. You've got someone on the hook going, wow, this is a nice car. I can tell there's care put into it. I'm going to buy it. Here again, they're being truthful. They're showing the detail. I always like to look in the gas cap as well, this kind of fuel filler area. This is standard to have this. These right here tell a little bit of a tale that probably is resprayed at some point. These are typically black, and these are just little bumpers. I forget the technical term for them, but when you close the gas door, they rest on these, and it kind of keeps it from slamming or, hitting the metal too hard. Original gas cap. These will tend to leak in here. In terms of gas fumes, there's one on the inside, there's one on the outside. Looks kind of all original, but if you don't smell any fuel, probably fine. You can see here the bumper. This is kind of the bumper from the top looking down, and just, again, showing imperfections. Love the detail here, showing it's not a perfect car. Rarely will you find a perfect car. You can see there the hubcap. These may have been polished. Maybe they didn't polish the inside. Typically, there's black paint on each of these. I actually like this look, but you could always just buy another set of hubcaps from someone. But to me, they actually look really good. Nice wide oil tire. It's not for everyone. You could... if you were really inspecting this vehicle, you could start to look at the date codes and stuff and say, wow, if you've got a budget for a car and the tires are super old, you always need to factor that into potentially replacements when you get it back. In here, the dog leg looks good. This is probably one of the best ones I've seen in a while in terms of just how clean it looks. Nothing in here kind of indicates that it's all bondoed up. And the way these are bolted on, these little trim pieces, that's typically how I see them, where I've looked at enough of these, you can kind of see where they're screwed in. That's just the way they always look, just like that. Or they should look. Here you got the suicide doors open. You can kind of see in here you got the original stickers. Just looking to see, is there anything crazy going on, and then also how bad or good do these look. These door moldings actually look pretty good right here, so by all means you may not ever have to change those or anytime soon. We've looked at some cars that were full restorations where these were missing. You can see the way the seat, there should be one in the middle, and then you've got the two little pieces here. Blue interior. I have a car with this interior. It looks really good. If I was on site, I would, ask the owner, can we start it? Leave the foot on the brake. Try to put the windows up and down. The vent windows as well, which in this year they are power. You could, see if the windshield wipers work, the radio, the antenna, which is power antenna. Those are the type of things that if it's not listed, you could by all means ask or double check. Here's the speed control, which is very, very rare for 60. Well, I'll say this, it's a more rare feature. You don't see it in a lot of the cars. It would be great if it works, but don't be deterred if it isn't working. There's probably only a few people that really kind of know those in and out to be able to fix them. And most of the time, you're probably not going to want to have cruise control on anyways. You've got some good looks here at the interior, including the horn button, or the center of the steering wheel, rather. This is all typical stuff. You're going to see this kind of not perfect. And again, you could take this car to the next level if you really want to. There you see the 5253. I'm assuming it's rolled over. You've got your normal incandescent bulbs up here. You do have AM FM radio, which again is showing that this car is highly optioned. When you look at the optical eye, the speed control, the AM FM, this is definitely a highly optioned car. The AM FM is a little bit different from 64 to 65. You've got air condition, which is technically a feature as well. One thing to check here, there's a spring, and I think Felix, if you know Lincolns, Felix out there, he makes a spring replacement. Typically when people take these apart, they don't put the spring back or it gets lost. So that's one thing to see if that's still there. And then this little piece here, Tony and I joke and call this the unicorn aisle. This little ring that says ignition is typically missing. So it's kind of cool to have a car that has it. I have a 64 that has one. I have a 65 that does not. There's the speed control, which was different kind of most of the years. Headliner looks great. Seats look good. The trim looks good around the seats. Oops. If you find value in these videos, please hit like and consider subscribing. Please also leave a comment. It really does help. This is inside the glove box, so you can kind of see in here. This all looks clean. You got the original owner's manual. Again, part of the presentation. This may not be anything big to most, but seeing that it has that and showcasing it is really key. Looking in here just to see everything looks good. Everything looks good here in this door. If you were trying to sell your car, I would suggest that you do videos too and put them on YouTube and put the links in the description if you can, showing the windows going up and down. Lincoln Continental owner badge, it looks like these kind of varied. This is kind of a little weird. I haven't really necessarily seen that, but I mean, this is stuff you can just take off. No big deal. Carpet looks original. It has the seatbelts in the front. Seatbelts in the rear were rare. I know, I think 64 offered them in the rear. The trunk, you can kind of lift this up. You should have the jack over here. You're able to easily kind of look down in the quarter panels, make sure nothing crazy is going on there. You can see the spare tire in the sedans did ride up here, kind of sit in this area. There was a piece, I believe, that kind of comes off of here. A lot of people want to know what these are. This is where the spare tire kind of bolted down. Now, you could probably just leave it down here or put it up here. That's not going to go anywhere, but technically it was strapped down, so to speak. Yes, we have the replacement. You can tell this is not original. Some really nice insulation here, and you can see that this is all repainted. Now, I'm going to go a little bit quicker just because this video can easily get pretty long. I don't want to get too crazy, but you're going to see this engine bay looks fantastic. They did a great refurbishment. So you've got the newer style fittings for the AC. You have a 3-port. So you got 1, 2, 3. So that those are easy to tell. And if you watch the other videos, it does not have the 2 screws up here. That's the key giveaway. And then 1, 2, 3. They did remove the expansion tank, which a lot of people will tell you is fine. They did kind of what I did. They put an inline filler for the coolant, and no issue there. They've got the Continental. These are from Detroit Deviant, so pretty cool. They did a little bit of customization on the valve covers. The air cleaner looks kind of that original, like flat black type, paint. It doesn't look too shiny. You can see they didn't go too crazy detailing every single thing. They did put an electric fan, which is totally fine. I did that on my 64. It really does help depending on who you talk to. This is one of the challenges with the speed control. I do know there are a couple people that have confirmed this is the master cylinder. The master cylinder is very, very, very tight in there. This is the single. If you go to a dual, it takes a little, what you should, it takes a little finagling because where the speed control is at in here, there's not a lot of room to easily fit a dual master cylinder, which again, you should have. If you have a single like this, you're running a risk because if it goes out, you lose your brakes, okay? So anyone that knows these cars is going to tell you go with a dual master cylinder, and also, with a proportioning valve. Invest a little bit in the brakes. It's one of the most important components of the car. You can see here they didn't go crazy detailing every single aspect of this, and that's fine. I've cleaned mine up a lot, and it just gets dirty again. It's not saying that I don't like a clean engine bay, because I do, but just know this stuff doesn't impact the performance. Okay, you see the electric fan here. It doesn't look bad at all, kind of a newer style fan. You see the 3-port. You see the flamethrower here, so it kind of has upgraded ignition in terms of the spark. You can see here how they kind of tied in some of the power wires and things as such. Nothing crazy, not 100% factory, but by all means, nothing bad. Giving a little bit more insight into here, again, the floors look fine. Even though this car was Philadelphia destination, obviously it has a Rhode Island tag. Whoever had it probably didn't drive it in harsh winters. If you had someone looking at this car, they would just want to check to make sure there's not crazy rust. This exhaust pretty bad. It needs to be changed. Mine needs to be changed too. So no harm, no foul there. You see the oil pan looks really good. Everything else looks good here. Again, there's no major rust from what I can see. This piece right here is directly underneath the radiator. Always double check this. Make sure there's no crazy rust in here. Typically where the battery is up here, you're going to have a lot of acid and things like that would leak down. And I had a 67 that was really bad in this area. And it was not the end of the world. We did fix a lot of it. My buddy Daniel went through and welded in new pieces and fixed it. But it takes time and money. You can see here the sway bar all looks nice. They cleaned all that up and powder coated and painted and all that. Standard stuff. It looks like they did change some of the brake lines up here, which is fine. They have the T fitting there. Okay, all of this stuff here, all nastiness, this is normal for these cars. They leak like there's no tomorrow. You can see here they went through and at some point they probably powder coated or painted some of the pieces. This is probably the worst discoloration I've seen in the photos underneath. Nothing to be worried about, but you would just kind of tap in here with a screwdriver, making sure there's no crazy rust coming through. And even if there is in a couple spots like this, it's still not the end of the world. Even if this had to have new floor pans put in it, that's something that you will see from these cars. Okay, one big thing here is the crank-mounted steering pumps in these cars. People do get sick of them. They don't know how to rebuild them possibly. Maybe they don't want to spend $600 on another one if they need one. There are guys out there, and this person basically took some ingenuity, and they took a Volvo remote reservoir and steering pump, and they basically put it up here in the driver's wheel well. You'll never really see this, so hey, thumbs up, pretty cool stuff. You don't necessarily have to go through all this, but by all means, this helped to sell the car. The person's probably like, wow, man, they did a lot of cool stuff. You can see this is the vacuum canister that holds some of the air for the vacuum locks and things like that. It's been cleaned up. Big thing here is this has been changed. So you have the timing chain and you have this gear. These have to be changed. I'll do another whole video on it. These were made out of something that will tend to, over time, basically chip off, get down to your oil pan, get sucked up to the oil pump, or block the oil from going up to the oil pump and cause issues with your engine, okay? This has been done. Again, it's part of the presentation, and it's showing they took the time to take the boner apart and do this. It's not the end of the world. You can do this stuff, as you can see, while the engine's still in the car, but it has to be done at some point. You can see all of this and other photos was all painted black or powder coated, and it shows they took the time to blow this thing apart. You do always want to look in here underneath the battery just to see how bad this is, okay? If there's battery that leaked acid or whatnot, it didn't have proper maintenance or whatever, you will tend to see, with water and things like that down here, I mean, just nasty trays. And a lot of times these have to be totally changed. You can see in here maybe some metalwork had been done, which I wouldn't be afraid of this necessarily. Just want to make sure it's not all bondoed up and things like that. Manifolds painted. You can see, boom, here. You've got the valley pan. You've got the intake manifold and the valve covers all cleaned up. This is typical to be sprayed. The water pump, you can see that, obviously they had all that off, so they probably got a rebuilt water pump. They painted it all gray, which is kind of standard, and they painted all this stuff black. This stuff was black from the factory. Blue came in, I think, in 67. Okay, so you can see more here. This is key for the air condition. It was updated to a newer condenser, which is key if you're going to go to the 134 which is what they stated they did. More photos there. So that about wraps it up, okay? What I'll tell you, I guess my summary is that this is a very, very, very nice car. It's someone that has the money that wants to just go out there and say, you know what, I want to buy a car that once it gets delivered, I want to drive it. I'm going to put it in my collection, whatever. The reason this sedan sold for over $36,000 is the presentation. They did the legwork. They did the key things you have to do. Now, you could argue and say, well, did they drop the tank? Did they clean the tank? We didn't see photos of the pickup, the sending unit. Yeah, those are all things that you could ask, but those are also things that you could do once you buy this car. But overall, I give this car, well, let me say this. I give this listing, I would say a 9.5 out of 10. I don't know that I'll give it 10. I will have to do more of these reviews, but clearly when you have, someone commenting goodbye and it's a sedan, and that was the good B-U-Y, not B-Y-E. That shows that people were just like, wow, this is a nice car. And believe it or not, people have money and they're willing to buy nice cars. Okay, they don't want to buy lipstick jobs. They don't want to buy things that aren't presented in the proper way. We'll leave it at that. So this is ODB, the Lincoln Addict. Check out Lincoln Addict Podcast, however you find podcasts. You can also Google Lincoln Addict Podcast and listen on YouTube, or you can listen on the website, which is lincolnaddict.podbean.com, I think. Take care, everyone. We appreciate you. Stay on the rise.